Hello everyone! Today I am reviewing the Meiliang 52 Watercolor Set by Paul Rubens. Now if you're looking for an affordable watercolor set, this may be a good option for you. Let's give them a try and find out. Welcome back everyone. If you're new here, my name is Teresa. I'm a surface pattern designer and watercolor artist. Now this set has been getting a lot of attention lately. I purchased it with my own money and I will give you my honest opinion, but be sure to watch all the way to the end so that you can make the best decision about whether these are really right for you or not. These come in a really cute box or a little tin. So this one's blue. It also comes in purple. So this is your typical little tin that student grade paints often come in. If we open it up, we see that it has a sponge, which I never use these sponges, and a really nice paintbrush. So this one is not one of the typical water brushes. It comes to a really nice point, so I'm looking forward to trying that out. And an H pencil, so that's nice. This looks like your typical H pencil. And also a fine liner, which I think this is waterproof, but I'm not sure about that. We'll test it out and make sure. I really like micron pens, but this will be great if that one works out. We'll just try it. Then a nice little watercolor chart with all the pigment information. And a swatch card, which this does not feel like watercolor paper, so that's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But I like that they already labeled the card. That's nice. And some watercolor paper. So that's nice. Now, I'm not real crazy about this. I have the worst luck with Amazon. They beat my packages up all the time. But when I look at this, this is a very flimsy, cheap tray, so it probably didn't take a whole lot to make that happen. There was nothing wrong with the package. It came in an envelope, but you know, it's an envelope, so it's not going to protect it very well. At least these are in a tin pan, so that's probably helped protect it some. And I mean, really, I paid less than $20 for this, so I'm not surprised that that's a cheap little tray. And I don't know, that glue in the bottom, of course, did not hold this little tray well, so oh well. Now, after I painted with these, I realized that the top one comes out as well, and it has mixing wells in here. So that's kind of nice. I like that. In fact, I'll probably just take this out, remove this glue, and I may come up with another solution for these little paints if I continue to paint with them. You know, like maybe put the hot glue each one down to the tin, or maybe some magnets or something. They have a little bit of cellophane under here, which I find interesting. I don't know what that's about. I guess just trying to prevent it from getting messy under there, I suppose. But it doesn't matter. I don't know. I'll just experiment with that. Now, with almost every student grade paint kit I've ever had, the brushes that come with it are relatively small because each pan is pretty small. These aren't even half pans, I don't think. They look smaller than half pans. So you're going to need a really small paintbrush. If you want to go up in sizes such as like this, you know, this would probably work fine. But if you go any larger, like let's say like a quill brush, you are going to contaminate all your colors, which is fine. I don't really mind contamination normally, but in a really small palette like this, it's going to make all your colors become very muddy. So I'm not real fond about that. Then you'll want to be sure and soak any new brushes that you get, because they come with sizing on them, which just protects the bristles in packaging and shipping. So anytime you get a new brush, you really need to soak it in warm water. to get that off, and it'll soften the bristles up and perform much better for you. I went through the swatch card, and I really appreciate the fact that they've labeled the swatch card. But what I noticed is that it was really hard to control the consistency of the paint. So it was either very thick or very thin. And as you see here, it streaked quite a bit. It had blooms all over the place. And you know, I love blooms. But when I'm doing swatches and things like that, I just thought that that was a bit excessive. But then I started painting with them. And again, I've noticed they were either really thick or really thin. So it was hard to get a nice even wash, I felt like. I do like this little brush, but I don't know, the pigment was just pretty thick. I like to paint in a very loose style, so I love a lot of movement with my watercolors. And, you know, not everyone likes that style. So if you have a little bit tighter style, you might be perfectly okay with this. And I changed brushes and I changed my paper just to see, okay, is it truly the pigment that's causing me a little bit of trouble here? And yes, it absolutely was the pigment getting a little thick or really thin. Then I switched over and decided to just paint some one-stroke leaves, and that went really well. But then I decided to do something other than flowers. I switched over to a lemon, and so the style was not quite as loose as what I was painting with the flowers, and this worked so much better. I was really happy with the way this turned out. And I did it in multiple layers, which I really didn't think that this paint was going to do well with multiple layers, but it really did. I was really happy. And especially if you're new to watercolors, I felt like this was very forgiving. If a hard line develops, it was very easy to allow it to completely dry and then go back over it with a damp brush. And it smoothed that line right out without any problems, which sometimes that can be pretty challenging with regular watercolors. So I was very happy with that. And I'm painting on pretty rough textured paper here, so that can be more challenging to paint on, and I felt like it did beautifully with this pigment. Okay, so then I decided to try out the fine liner, and I allowed it to dry for just a few minutes before I started painting on it. And you know, it was okay. I wouldn't call it waterproof, but it was definitely water resistant. So once I had finished it, I could tell that it kind of started muddying up the paper just a little bit. So here's the thing. Honestly, I'm just not a fan of student grade watercolors. I'm just not. They are not going to give you the same results as professional watercolors. And I see many people contact me saying, I can't get this right. I can't do this, I can't do that. My watercolors don't look like anyone else's. And it's usually because they're not using good quality products, such as their watercolors and their paper. Those are the two biggies. So if that's you, you might want to consider switching over to a professional grade. But if you really just want to paint, then that's fine. This is a great set. For $20, absolutely. You get 52 colors, and you know, really once I painted with them for a little while and got the feel that they, you know, how they're just a little different than what I'm used to, then I like them just fine. I hope this was useful information for you. And if you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up to let me know. And I hope to see you here again next time.